Cass, Newcastle fans will be waking up this morning bitterly disappointed with what they saw at the Amex last night, as Steve Bruce echoed there. But it's not like it's a one-off. This has been a continuous set of performances throughout this season, really.
Yeah, there's so much to say on that game last night. Just a quick point, Nat, because it's something that bothers me, and I think coaches can be quite guilty of doing this, is if you're losing a game and you have Dwight Gale and Andy Carroll on the bench, why you have them on the bench if you're not prepared to use them when you're losing the game? Now, that's just a small point. If you want to go to the tactics of the team, Brighton, they made Mopai and Welbeck split. And what they did in the opening 5 minutes of the game, Mulder had 2 chances from midfield, bursting through, getting into positions in danger, and has 2 great chances, doesn't score. Okay, so their style is now they're not using a traditional. And then we talked about Man City not having a centre forward last night. They certainly did that, Brighton, and Newcastle defenders didn't realise what had hit them, and there was no running. Or the runners from midfield from Brighton were not being picked up by Shelvey, Hayden, whoever played in there. I mean, Willock as well. They didn't get near the runners that were getting through into dangerous positions. So there was a lot wrong with Newcastle. Now, another one, Almiron was never fit. Now, I know he's been injured, but it's a bad mistake, especially in the modern game. You can't get away with picking players like you did 20 and 30 years ago who are ready to play a game and you think they're okay. He was clearly not fit, Almiron. They chose to not play the centre-forward. Now, Joe Linton's a centre-forward. He was bought as a centre-forward from £40 million. And we'll go back to talking about goal scorers not getting goals. You know, why is he not getting goals? Or is Newcastle's style part of the problem? There were so many things wrong with Newcastle. Apart from the keeper, the back line, the midfield and the forward line, none of them functioned well. And I say a forward line because it wasn't really that. They never offered anything to stop Brighton. Brighton was superb. But if you're going to give Lallana, and we talked about technical ability and players who can play, we chatted about Southampton and Bournemouth, you give Lallana time and space, he'll kill you. He'll take you to he'll just keep winning the ball and move the ball, and he'll hurt you, and he did.
I imagine if you're a Newcastle fan, when you're watching your team this season, it's just absolute agony to be watching them. Yeah. And they got off to a fairly good start this season. Their early season form is what's carried them through to where they are right now in the league, which is 17th. And I say that because the way they're performing right now, they are looking like a team who should be in the relegation zone. There's no aim to Newcastle at all.
Well, if I was to say to you now, who are you going for, Fulham or Newcastle to stay up? Now Newcastle have got the advantage, Nat.
Yes.
But I'll tell you what, I'm all over Fulham compared to Newcastle. I can't see them picking up many points. Whatever Stevie Bruce has to do, he's got to go with some style of play that's going to... You get the best out of what you've got. Now, if that means lumping it and getting Andy Carroll down the middle and Dwight Gale alongside him and playing 2 wingers, whoever he can find to fit them spots, you better have some way of playing, because what I saw yesterday, that is going to be a 3-0 defeat. And why has that happened so often? Why have that... You saw them against Brentford in the Cup, where he selected a really strong team against Brentford in the Cup. You took them apart. You know, this isn't a one-off.
And that wasn't our strongest Brentford team.
No, you've made the changes. You're a championship team and you've made changes. And you've still got the better. So clearly, I mean, to go. Look, it's really difficult because I played with Steve as a young lad, okay? And I've got to know him over the years and I've met him and spoke him. And it's a real difficult thing to talk about when you like somebody and... You're also looking at what your job is. You're analysing football, and it's disastrous at Newcastle at the moment. And I do feel, and I'd never say this because he's never that as a player, I feel like he's managing with a bit of fear, and he's afraid to lose. And sometimes you can be so local to your club. You're born in the area. You're a Newcastle fan. Your heart gets attached with a football club, but it doesn't feel like his thinking's right. Because what he did yesterday, that is... a manager getting it wrong. And he even admitted that after the game. He said, I'll take full responsibility. Steve's saying that too much. He said that more than one time this season, that he takes full responsibility of the performance. You can blame the players for not being good enough, but if you're the boss, you've got to set them up to be affecting the opposition, hurting them and winning games.
You say then that some of the players aren't good enough and maybe there are some questionable players, but there are also some players in there that you look at and think sometimes when they're on it, they look really impressive. You know, we know what Callum Wilson can do. Alan St. Maximin has potential.
He's injured. So
no, absolutely. No, I'm coming to that. Miguel
Sorry.
Almiron as well. Okay, Joe Linton perhaps hasn't lived up to expectations, but there is some excitement with the front. Let's say there's some of the attacking players that they've got there, but the way that they play doesn't allow those attacking players to show that flair. And this performance yesterday, and you're right to mention the injuries of Maximum and Callum Wilson, but this slide that Newcastle have been on
was with them as well.
Has been with those players in the starting lineup. So this has been ongoing for a very long time, and it's there may well now be people who are sitting there who have fully supported Steve Bruce, and you're absolutely right to support your friend, of course, but who are now thinking, Newcastle. Well, I can understand where Newcastle fans are coming from right now, because actually this Newcastle team are doing nothing. They are looking aimless, looking lost out there on the pitch at times.
It's hard to disagree with anything, and try and not have a bias because the obvious reason I don't like to do that, but I can't. What I'm seeing is dreadful. And that is painful to watch. If you're a Newcastle fan, you have to exaggerate that tenfold, because that's their football club and they recognise what's happening. Not from, it's not Mike Ashley's fault. You can go there are lots of things you can blame him for, but you can't blame him for that performance of that team. They've got enough quality. They've got a midfielder who can't make a tackle. You've got a problem. If you've got midfielders who can't tackle, John Cho Shelby's a great footballer, great technically, can't make a tackle. You can go past him like he's not there. Hayden gets injured. That's another problem. Joe Willock, a loan deal from Arsenal, coming in. Looks like he's joined a club that could have been the worst move in his career, because he now looks like, initially starting well, he now looks like he's fallen into the same pattern as everybody else as an outfield player.
Obviously, we've talked a lot about Newcastle. We should mention Brighton as well. But just before we move on, you said about, who would you tip right now with Newcastle and Fulham? Fulham 2 points off Newcastle. They're still in the relegation zone after that defeat to Leeds on Friday night. They have played a game more, which is a slight issue for Scott Parker's side. But we've said it before, and we say the last final relegation spot, because we're all assuming that Sheffield United and West Brom are down. It could still all come down to that Fulham game at Craven Cottage, where Newcastle have to go on the last game of the season. But also at the same time, with the way that Newcastle are playing, Fulham could draw a number of games towards the end of this season and get themselves out of trouble, because it doesn't look like Newcastle can win. No. If I was thinking like Steve Bruce, I'd be thinking, I'm ripping up everything and I'm literally going to go with a team I trust, as in their attitudes, and I'm going to do whatever I can to try and cause opposition's problems, because there is no way they're going to keep clean sheets at the moment. You can't have a midfield that can't tackle. You just can't. It's that and a defence that don't look like a defence.
I think the defence can handle it. I think they can. Last night was a bad night, but I think most defences that are average need protection, and they haven't got that.